So tell us about your favorite piece from the last year and why it's your favorite.
Well, I'm cheating a little bit because my favorite piece isn't quite what you'd call a typical piece. It's the package of endorsements and interviews that we put out as an editorial board for the elections this year for the Board of Overseers, Harvard's second highest governing body. It's, I think, a really remarkable and unusual and exciting combination of the talents of our tech team and our multimedia team and our design team. And in a year where governance at Harvard has maybe never been of greater interest, I think it did a real service to the alumni community in selecting candidates who will lead the institution into hopefully steadier waters.
The staff ed that we wrote called "Trump is Coming for Higher Ed, Harvard Must Fight Back." I think it gave us an opportunity, or Trump's re-election gave us the opportunity to speak to the rising anti-higher ed sentiment and also kind of anti-intellectual sentiment over the past couple of years, a lot of which I would say is political theater, but at the same time speaks to a genuine desire to control what is taught in classrooms, both elementary school all the way up. A lot of that is pretty threatening, and I think that gave us a good opportunity to say something about it.
My favorite piece was Harvard Needs to Tell the Truth About Its Admissions Data, because this piece really shined a light into the problems that we've seen across campus and the new priorities that Harvard needs to address when it comes to admitting students in the future.
Probably Chandon's diversity isn't the point of affirmative action justices, because at a time when everyone was talking about Harvard's admissions processes because of the release of the class of 2020 admissions data, Chandon seemed to be the only one who was reiterating that affirmative action at its core is not to make this campus a more quote-unquote diverse space for its white students. It's to serve as actual reparations.
A dissent. It was entitled "The Editorial Board is Too Scared to Say the Obvious." It was about the this year's October 7th statement put out by the Palestine Solidarity Committee. When I read the actual staff ed, I was disappointed in it, but I was very proud that some of my peers in the editorial board called out something that they felt very strongly about, and I really agreed with them about it.
My favorite piece that the editorial board has published this past year was a dissent. When it comes to free speech, the editorial board is all talk. I like it for one because I feel like it really encapsulates a lot of the hard conversations we were having at Harvard about what speech is considered a part of the institution versus what isn't. And I really like that dissent because I feel that it was a time where a lot of us really came together to think about how to structure this argument that was super important. And I feel like we did a very good job on it, so that was a very rewarding experience.
My favorite piece that the editorial board has put out this year was titled "Intellectual Vitality Really Is Vital. Here's How to Do It Right." We've had, as a campus, a lot of conversations in the last year about what dialogue looks like and how to do it effectively and productively and how to have more kind of conversation. And I thought that was a really good piece that kind of got at what, really is productive when it comes to facilitating dialogue among students and having conversation.
My favorite piece is a staff ed called "If Harvard's endowment is ethically invested, it should show us the receipts." Simply put, this is my favorite piece because it does what staff eds I think are supposed to do, which is incorporate historical precedent, a very strong, clear and logical argument to make a very timely and urgent kind of argument, which in this case is very straightforward, and that's, if Harvard's investments of its endowment are going towards any kinds of human rights abuses anywhere in the world, it should at the very least disclose those investments so we can see what's going on.
My favorite piece has been Harvard Produces Political Losers, my op-ed on how the Kamala Harris campaign really bought into a narrative that wasn't reflective of how Americans were feeling on various issues throughout the election season. These figures and advisors that were on her campaign came from institutions like Harvard, where there's often a culture of careerism and pretty blatant ambition seeking. And so my article was a way of highlighting from the inside how this pipeline occurs and what we can do to prevent it and really shape the university's public service mission more around values of actual justice, inclusion, and listening to people where they are in communities around the country.
My favorite piece from the last year was the Instagram idealism of Dean Ketchum.
Where we sort of challenged Dean Cron's whole approach to Instagram and sort of the social life that exists and how this is or isn't, in the stuff that we said it wasn't reflective of his actual views and policies. I thought it was a really pointed piece and it needed to be said.